Hi everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here for Simon Says Stamp to help launch their, you guessed it, it's DieCember. So we always wait for this one. So between Stamptember and DieCember, it's always a win-win. So this is the product that I'm going to create with. It is from their Big Picture Book series. And it is a cinnamon bun. And it's awesome. So yes, it is the Big Picture Book cinnamon bun. And I'm also going to, for my stash, I found a holly collage. So you can see I've grabbed some cardstock. I die cut the cinnamon bun with two different shades, one in ivory, one brown. I did some holly leaves and some greens, and I've got some berries. And yes, you are seeing that correctly. I am actually distressing, because I love my distress oxides, some of these pieces. So I did the berries with aged mahogany. I'm pulling in some forest moss for the holly leaves, and I'm using my finger daubers for this. I mean, please, would we really use the mini blender on these? Trust me, I'm surprised I didn't try. But just to give them some shading, I'm using my finger dauber. Now, you don't have to provide the shading. I mean, they'd be fine just in colored cardstock as well. That looks great when you just use the different colored cardstocks. So once they're done, we're going to go in and color in around the cinnamon bun. Yeah, I have a bad time saying that, guys. Sorry. I want to say Cinnabon. You remember the Cinnabon? Does anybody remember Cinnabon? Oh, maybe I'm aging myself. So antique linen, of course, is going to be the color on top. And I do want it a little bit thicker on the sides. I'm going to make sure what's great with this die for the top of the bun, it actually cuts into it, so you get these swirls. So I was able to get in there with my dauber just to go around those swirls. I'm going to use my ground espresso around the edges for the base of the bun. And then again, just to give it some shading, what I'm also going to do is get a piece of black cardstock, and I'm going to put that behind where the eyes and the mouth are, just to let that be a little dark. I wanted the bun to sit on a plate. I didn't have a die for a plate. So what do we do with that? We create one. So using a piece of scrap paper, I just real quick put that piece down, and I'm drawing somewhat that resembles a plate. So again, we can do that. Okay? That doesn't mean we have to go buy a die with a plate. It just means we can create one. I could have just put a brown piece there and made it look like a piece of wood too, if I wanted to. So once I have this cut, I'm going to pull out one of my distress oxides again, and I believe I pulled out pumice stone for that, and I'm going to use that to cover this piece of cardstock up. I didn't want a mirror cardstock for this. I wanted it to be soft, but I did want a gray. So, and I just did not want that heavy metallic, because there is going to be metallic on this card, and you'll see that in a little bit. So at first I'm going around the edges, and again, I do apologize for my thumb and the awesome bandage scenario that I've got there, but I just had a bad accident with my thumb, and none of you need to be witness to it. So I do apologize with all of that. I will say, though, it is amazing when the thumb is wrapped up like that, you still lose the ability to do some things. I've had to get creative. So I've pulled out my tonic trimmer, and I'm cutting this piece to be about 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I also have a piece of mirror cardstock. This is from the Tim Holtz collection, the silver and gold 8x8 pack, and I've cut that to be 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm using my finger daubers again to go around the edge with antique linen, and I want to go heavy. You know, here's where I am used to my mini blenders, especially with my vintage photo, to really ink up those edges. So the dauber, it just takes more time. You can do it with the finger daubers. It doesn't mean that, you know, you have to go out and buy the mini. No, you can do this with the daubers. So with that ink that I've laid down there on the edges, I am able to take that once I'm on a piece of scrap paper and just blend this right on out into the middle of that cardstock, because I do want a lot of that. Now, I do want the edges just a little bit darker. I really do want this panel to stand out a lot. So I'm actually going to come in with my vintage photo, and again, just along the edges. I was considering ground espresso, but I thought maybe that would be just a little bit too dark. But again, just along those edges. So it's almost like going to create that frame. So now it's time to put our card together. So I'm going to grab my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and I'm just going to start putting the pieces down. So the first piece that I want to get down is the plate, or whatever we want to call that. That little tiny piece that the bun's going to sit on. And I want the bun to be dimensional. So that is going to sit up. Here's where I put that very small piece of black cardstock, just trimmed in behind that piece, just so that the eyes will be black. I didn't want them ivory or white. So I'm also going to grab some foam squares, because I do want this to be propped up. And I'm also going to prop up the topper of the bun. Now, you did not have to, you know, you could just have the top be propped up with some foam squares. I mean, that would look just as nice. But I love dimension. So I'm good if everything's propped up on my card. So I'm just using some foam squares all throughout this piece. I'm going to make sure that when I'm placing the foam squares for the top, I don't want to lose the movement of this frosting, because the holly, that's where the holly leaves are going to go. So I want to be able, and you can see, put them in there. So I'm just going to use my Nuvo liquid adhesive, and I'm just going to put the tips of them through those holes, and then I'm just going to continue to place those around. Now, I did cut more than what I used, but I do believe in odd numbers. I do believe that is more appealing to the eye. So I am going to use 5 of these holly leaves. And again, it was just from that die that I had found in my stash. I thought the holly leaves were perfect. They were perfect in size. And I think they just add a really cute touch to this little cinnamon bun. Once I have those holly leaves in place, now I'm just going to drop a lot of glue down, and we're going to put the berries in place. What I'm using to put the berries in place is actually called a wax pencil. They use it in nail art, and I find it very useful for small pieces of cardstock that I've cut and sequins. So that's what I use. So that's our little guy. I think it is absolutely cute. I think it's very festive. Who knew that a cinnamon bun could be holiday? Well, we can. Us card makers, we can make anything into holidays or anything that we want. So that's the beauty of our craft. I'm going to grab my tiny words for Christmas. You know, when I first saw this, I wasn't quite sure how I would use it. And this came out part of their fun and festive release. But I am finding I always reach for it now. So this is very versatile. They do have other sentiments, just not holidays. But these are perfect. Just a little bit of sentiment on the bottom, where I'm going to put this right below the plate where the bun is sitting. I used some white embossing powder, some fine detail embossing powder for my sentiment. And the sentiment I thought was perfect. It says, "Warm holiday greetings." I thought it was absolutely perfect for my warm cinnamon bun. I'm just going to glue that straight down below, making sure that it's straight. And then I'm going to take this panel and I'm going to add a bow. This is some baker's twine that I have in my stash, and it's some ivory and gold. And I'm just going to set that off to the side, just as a little bit of an accent, and I used my liquid adhesive for that. I'm also going to use my liquid adhesive to adhere this panel onto my mirror cardstock. And you can see it just gives a small border around the edge. And then this is going to be attached to my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 top folding card base. So this is a standard A2 size card. Again, I'm going to use my liquid adhesive for that. Liquid adhesive is an adhesive that I grab for most when it comes to adhering my pieces. I do have lots of tape runners, but I do tend to grab for my glue. I think it's a much stronger bond. It all depends on what I'm doing. So of course, there's a few close-ups of the card that we made today. I hope you're getting excited to see all the wonderful items that will be available during Simon Says Stamp DieCember release. So make sure you check it out. And of course, I'll have the link down below. Make sure you go to their blog to see all of the inspiration that's going on. There's some wonderful crafters, creators out there, and we all are, actually. So go see all of the beautiful designs that they've created with their items. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. As I said, all the products that I did use in this video will be linked down below. I'll also link you to Simon Says blog so that you can see their blog posts when it comes to this release as well. But always remember what's most important. First, if you like this video, hit the like. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So much more is coming, and I'd love to have you here as part of my community. But in honesty, what's really most important, always, I want you to be creative every day.